photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
I'm Mark Rizzetto from the Professional Photography Business Network.
A vibrant community from all around the world who's here to supercharge your business growth.
This is not an expensive one-size-fits-all course.
The PPBN is a network, an online educational platform with training and resources to suit everyone,
From those just starting out to the seasoned pros.
You can tailor your journey to suit your individual business needs and challenges, all at your own pace.
And there's new content added every week. But success is only part of the experience.
To us, community is super important, as we all know business can be lonely.
So join us today. PPBN is your unfair advantage. Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to the judging of the architecture category for the 2026 Australian Photographic Prize. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoy seeing some wonderful architecture images being judged here today with this illustrious panel of judges. I'm here today on behalf of our competition director, Daniel Bingham, our director of judging, Chris Anderson, and of course, behind the scenes, we also have Nathan, our broadcast producer, and Mel Sinclair, our amazing scribe. And I'm Tony Hewitt, your panel mentor for this session. And what an honor it is to be here again with this amazing competition. And of course, these things don't happen without our amazing sponsors. So we'd like to thank those sponsors for their contributions to the prize. A huge thank you to our master sponsor or major sponsor, Nikon Australia, who are awarding our overall Australian winner, Nikon product valued at up to $5,000. Thank you, Nikon, as always, leading the way in terms of supporting our industry here in Australia and wider. Thank you also to AZO for providing the Australian runner-up prize of a Color Edge CS2731 valued at over $2,000. And our overall international winner wins a 12-month membership to the Professional Photographers Business Network valued at $1,000. Thanks PPBN, thanks Mark Rizzetto. The judging format today, we're here to judge the top 30 images in the architecture category. And of course, there was a lot more than that that went through the first round of judging, which was online, and that was difficult enough. Today, it steps up one more level. Images celebrating the design, form, and detail of architectural spaces, the exteriors and interiors that define our built environment. That's architecture. Let me read that again so you can just think about those words. The architecture category is about images that celebrate the design, the form, and the detail of architectural spaces, the exteriors and the interiors that define our built environment. This category is governed by the rules that are the open section, if you like, and you can certainly go online and have a look at what that entails. In this session, our expert panel of judges will assess each image, scoring out of 100 with a comment for each, and in some cases, a challenge where we get to discuss the image in more detail and perhaps a rescore if needed. If there is no challenge, we'll always look to get a comment or some feedback so that you, the entrant, and of course, everybody else listening, has the chance to learn just a little bit more that can take your photography to another level. When our session is complete, we move to a closed door judging where the panel deliberates to determine the winner from those highest scoring images. A winner, second and third place Australian image, along with the winning international image, will be revealed at our live awards ceremony on August the 13th. So I'm going to give you a second to write that down. August the 13th, make sure you're there in person or online, I should say, and join in the fun and see who are the winners. In a moment, we'll introduce you to our judging panel for today. But first, I'm sure you'd all love to have a look at the top 30. These are the images in architecture. Let's have a little look at the top 30. Thanks, Mel. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Glad I'm not judging today. I'm glad I'm sitting in the chair and I don't have to make decisions that these amazing crew will have to make. This is going to be a fantastic category. So sit back, make sure your coffee's warm. And there is a reminder that halfway through we'll take a short break so our judges can have a comfort stop and maybe recharge their glass of water. For the rest of you, of course, that means if depending where you are in the world, it could be a glass of wine or a nice cup of coffee. Now, I'd like you to meet our judging panel, drawn from the Australian and international community. And I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves briefly and just tell you a little bit about themselves. Let's start with Christopher Ian.
I've been a professional photographer since 1981, and this category is the hardest. Architects and designers have the most discerning eye of any patron who employ us. They know what's good, what's bad. They can pull apart what we do straight away because they've spent years on this project and we're the last step before it gets open to the public. So we have to be on the game, and looking at these images, there's some incredibly high quality work here.
Thanks, Christopher Ian. James Musselwhite from the UK.
Yeah, I'm down here in Portsmouth in the UK, which is a city, home of the Royal Navy, but also dates back to the 11th century, which means that on this very small island, and it is an island, it's not attached to the mainland UK, there is a barrier of water, there is over 1,000 years worth of architectural history, and it's brilliant, and I love it, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the showcase of different architectural styles in this quite brilliant portfolio.
Thank you, James. Now let's zip across the other side of the world to New Zealand, to Johan van Kaan.
Hi, I'm Johan. I'm from Christchurch in New Zealand. I've been photographing architecture for, well, let's say quite a while. And I'm drawn to the amazing style and form that you can get in architecture, and then also the personality that comes through. I'm excited by what I've seen so far, and I'm looking forward to the debates.
Okay, zip across the channel to South Australia. Mark Zed.
Yeah, hi. I'm really looking forward to judging the architecture category this evening. I'm a commercial and advertising photographer based in South Australia with over 20 years photographing architecture. I also love exploring architecture and space and the use of the environment through my artistic works. And so this is a brilliant category that likes to straddle both worlds. So I'm excited.
And let's step over to Robin Campbell, the lady who started the APP, who's now joining us as a judge. Thank you, Robin.
Thanks so much, Tony. Yeah, so started the Australian Photographic Prize, but I'm also a Melbourne-based photographer, and I've been doing that for a couple of decades now, so a little while. I've been finalist in the Moran Art Prize, Fremantle Portrait Prize, Head-on Landscape Prize, so it's safe to say I've explored quite a few genres in my photography career. But I really love architecture because there are specific things in architecture photography that isn't really celebrated anywhere else. It's the design elements and the balance and the coordination of symmetry and perspective, and it all sort of comes together and add the magic of light. And all of a sudden you've turned concrete and metal into a sculpture. So it's a pretty cool category, and I'm very happy to be here. And given what we've already seen already, I think it's going to be a very exciting judging.
Thank you, Robin. Let's go to Peter Barnes.
Thanks, Tony. I'm based in Adelaide. I'm a commercial photographer for nearly 2 decades now, and I call myself a specialist in architectural and engineering photography, and that's how I've made a sort of a living for the last while. I too love the challenge of a new building or an old building and finding out the best way to capture how it relates to the light. And how the form can be exploited to make enticing photographs which draw people in and satisfy the client. From what I've seen in that run through, I'm really looking forward to seeing what looks like some fantastic work. So let's go.
Thanks, Peter. Up in Sydney, Matthew Vasilescu.
Yes, thanks, Tony. Yes, as Tony said, in Sydney, I have been photographing for many years as well, like the rest of the panel, and I generally photograph the built environment from it coming out of the ground to the finished work all the way through. So I love to get to see all of the elements of it from all of those aspects. And exactly as Peter said, looking at that series of work on the screen, it's going to be a great night of architectural judging.
And thank you, Matthew. Finally, but certainly not the least important, all the way over in the UK again, Scott Johnson.
Thanks, Tony. Good evening, everybody. My name's Scott Johnson here, just north of Portsmouth in Essex, the UK. For money, I photograph weddings and portraits, but for fun, I'm often found walking around London photographing the buildings. And finally, after breaking a 9-year duck of coming third, in 2021, I actually won Architectural Photographer of the Year. This category excites me. Architectural photography is the ability where most people would walk past a building and not even to give it a second glance. Photographers in this category have made something beautiful out of bricks and mortar, and this excites me more than anything else.
Thank you, Scott. So just a reminder to our audience that sometimes you'll notice judges looking not at the camera, but off to the side. So James, different people will be doing it. So that can sometimes be that they have 2 screens going, and one screen could be where they're looking at the images, etc. But their Zoom camera or their camera that they're using to talk to us could be on a different screen. So just be aware of that. They're not watching a TV show or anything. They are absolutely present, and they are chomping at the bit to look at these images. There'll be a judge change pretty much on almost every image. We like to keep the judges on their toes, keep them guessing. So we might have every image, there could be a new judge coming in and then one going out. you'll notice that there's a diversity of photographic backgrounds. And while with every category, there's an emphasis on the core category, such in this case, architecture, it's always nice to have photographers who have a little bit more of a generalized background or perhaps specialize in other areas. And this gives us a far more rounded a group opinion, if you like, or a group dynamic. So I'm excited and looking forward to what we've got coming up. And with that, I'm now going to ask our amazing scribe, Mel Sinclair, to show us the first image. But before we do that, we better tell the judges who's on the first panels. So we'll have Christopher Ian, James Musselwhite, Mark Zed, Robin Campbell, and Scott Johnson. And we'll have that first image when you're ready, Mel. Thank you.
Good evening. This image is titled Geometry and Light Above.
We have an image that scores 81, and all the judges are within about 4 points of each other, or 6 points of each other, a couple of points away from that score. I'm going to ask Scott to give us a comment, if he will, some feedback for the entrant. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Tony. I was at 81 on this image. Initially, the visual impact of this is absolutely beautiful. The tonality and a brave choice of going to black and white, I think, really helped elevate the original capture. I think to move forward to get it up into that next score category, I would have maybe like to have seen the crop come in slightly from the right hand side to that diagonal line that going in the corner, because making it more square, because by doing that it will help centralize the Fibonacci sequence going into that bright highlight there, and it will remove that distraction top right hand corner. I also think that with the in this category and the ability to have the chance to Photoshop things out, just removal of those security cameras and lights would have helped elevate me up a few points. But this is a great capture, and what a great start to this category.
Thanks, Scott. Good comments. We'll have James, you're going to step out. That sounded like a quick one, didn't it? And I'm going to bring in Peter. Thanks, Peter. Next image. Thanks, Mel.
This image is titled Mirroring the Wall of the NMA.
This image scores a 79, just that 1 point below award level. But we do have a chance there if somebody's interested. Robin, who was going to hit her little hand or just hit a comment. Robin's challenging on 83. You've got an 82, 78, 77, and 78. Thank you, Robin. Take it away.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, look, there is some incredible sensory elements within this image that really, really need to be celebrated. So what the photographer is seeing here is what we're here to celebrate. And it's more than just architecture. They've transformed it into this beautiful, I guess, quasi-romantic pair of lips with this amazing little bit of communication there. You've got the bit of braille sitting above that you almost can feel the texture coming down. It's a beautiful mixture of lighting, and I think that's been celebrated throughout the image as well. So there's lovely shadows falling all the way through, but I think it's a really clever take on not just seeing a building for being a building, but turning it into something really interesting. In this case, a pair of lips and some braille. So it's more than bricks and mortar. It has become something that's quite tactile and sensory. And I think that's sort of what we're here to celebrate, I guess, a transformation of buildings into art.
Thank you, Robin. Scott Johnson, 78.
Yeah, 78. Totally agree with you there, Robin. I think the visual impact initially is really, really quite striking. For me, what kept me from going up into the silver range, the top of the red there is very, very high saturation there. Red's a very hard color to control in the edit. I think the author's just pushed it a little bit too far, so I'd like to have seen that come back ever so slightly. And again, we have the ability to retouch here. There are lots of white marks on the red. There are marks and distractions on the concrete at the top. And again, I think just a tighter crop to bring those red diagonals into the bottom of the frame, just to keep us within that image rather than us kind of going away, would have helped me come up. But I'm listening to your right of reply. I'm not far. You haven't got much to do with me, Robin, so I'm looking forward to your right of reply.
Thank you, Scott. Christopher Ian, you also in silver at 82.
I thought it was a very careful, constructed macro. In the slideshow, we saw photos which were entire objects, entire buildings, entire rooms. But here we have a macro, and I'm always envious of people who know how to use their telephoto perspective and nab detail in the distance of a landscape, or in this case, the distance of photo. I think it's perfect, actually. I wouldn't really crop it because the edges are needed for those tiny little bands at the very top to be contained.
Thank you, Christopher. Ian, let's go back to you, Robin.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that wonderful feedback. And it's so great to get other perspectives. I saw the little white dots didn't really worry me. It sort of brought the authenticity of the original architecture. So it wasn't something that I felt was sort of cut and paste and filled in. So I like that you can still see the authenticity of the materials and so forth. Thank you so much for that little bit of backup there, Christopher. Definitely elements within that are just really, really cleverly found and really cleverly composed. I love that it falls away like a little mountain on the edges and you're missing the little sort of bits on the edges. Cool too. So have a look. It is very clever, and that's what we're here to award. So I'd encourage judges to join me in the silver range.
Thank you, Robin. If you hold your score at 83, and judges, if you'd like to reconsider, of course, for the audience's benefit, judges can rescore with a different number, a different value, or they can stick where they were. They've listened to some extra discussion, and now they can reassess where they were before. And we now have an 81 silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Let's have let's have Johan come in. And Mark, you can step out for this one. Thank you, Mark. And Johan, come in. And we'll have the next image, please.
This image has no title.
Johan, have you just...
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Early submitter.
There we go. We have an 84. And Johan's throwing his hands at the screen, but of course he has little signals he can put on there, and he's done that for me, which is fantastic. Johan is on 91, and he feels that there's room to have a chat. 91, 84, 84, 82, 78. Thanks, Johan.
What a symphony of color and excitement and energy. I don't even need to try and understand what it is. The use of the opposites of the colors to create solidarity, and energy, the use of tone to create almost an eruption at the top, the forms, it's so balletic. I gave it a 91. I'm very interested in seeing what I didn't see.
Let's ask Robin Campbell what she saw at 78.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you, celebrating the beautiful tonal ranges and the colors and lights bouncing off warms and cool tones together is always magic. I think where I sort of held a little bit short was I struggled. It sort of felt like a triptych. So, you've got a core image and then an image either side, and left-hand side, it's quite well blended, and that, the way the panels come together, they form quite seamlessly. But on the right-hand side, it falls apart a little bit more. So I guess my brain put it together as three separate images, and I would have loved to have seen them somehow fold together a little more seamlessly rather than the sharp, harsh lines that run through it in thirds. But I am listening, and I am enjoying the debate, so thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Peter, you had a comment. Actually, I might go to Christopher Ian. You're on 84, so you were just outside distinction.
I absolutely love, if you go on 100%, you can run all over this. And as we were saying before, the defects in your materials are coming up because some of them have aged, some of them are dinted. It's absolute fun to run all over this and enjoy it. I certainly thought it was almost silver distinction. I might even come up actually because I think it was a bit harsh.
All right, thank you, Christopher Ian. Back to you, Johan.
Good. Christopher, I'm always appreciative of your support, so do what you can. You know, the form of these elements, as you're saying, as a triptych, maybe, I didn't even fall into that when I was looking at it because I was so involved with the wave of the shapes as they came around, and I didn't see it as abrasive as you did, and I was just enamored by the texture and color and age and form and tones and all these wonderful things. I gave it a 91. I'm not expecting everybody else to do the same, but I'd love some support.
Johan's on 91. He's asking you to consider gold. Taking on board what you've listened to and rejudge, please, judges. We now have an 87, a solid silver with distinction. Congratulations and great comments from everybody. All the judges jumped up into mid 80s and higher 80s, so well done. I'm going to ask Christopher Ian to take a step back, and I'm going to invite Mark Z back to the panel. And we'll have the next image, please.
This image is titled A Sign to Stop.
Of course, this is the architecture category for those who are listening in and watching in. And judges at the moment are just considering an image. And this image has got a very unanimous 82. Silver award, everybody within 1 point of that score. So that's a pretty conclusive and agreeable score. I'm going to ask for a comment, if I may, from Mark Z. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Tony. Really enjoyable image, and the composition is just gorgeous. We've got that kind of converging V on the third. It ticks all the design rules really nicely. Little things just to elevate the image a little bit. I like the grime in the bricks, but there's just that little spot on the top right hand side of that dominant brick that is a little bit distracting, as is that little rust spot. I love the rest of the grime, but just maybe a little tidy up would have really helped complete this and just push it up just a fraction.
Thank you, Mark. Peter, you had a quick comment to make. Did you have something to add?
No, I think Mark said it all for me.
Thank you very much. Okay. Scott, you can take a little break, and let's invite Matthew to the panel. And we'll have the next image, please, Mel.
This image has no title.
We have an 80 silver award. And everybody within 3 points of that. Yep, I can see Matthew's clapping. It's an old habit, but a good one. Let's get a comment, if we can, please, from Mark Z. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I really wanted to love this image a whole bunch more, but just there's a little sense of overall softness throughout, and I really wanted to have the crispness of the image material match the crispness of the contrast that was used throughout the image.
Thank you, Mark. Robin, I'll ask you to step back. James, I'd like you to join the panel. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, let's have the next image. Thanks, Mel.
This image has no title.
And we have a 79, highly commended. And I think everybody's, yep, Matthew would like to challenge that. Thank you, Matthew. You're on 82. You can see the other scores there. So let's see what you saw that others didn't.
Yes, thanks, Tony. I have put it in a silver range because I think the photographer has seen and captured a lovely image, handled a lovely image for all the tonality in it, including that lovely big black dark in the center, which we tend to like to avoid, but it really anchors the image. There's lovely light on all of that wood paneling, and it's very subtle throughout. I think it definitely does deserve that silver award just to sneak it up where it is and bring it from that 179 point where it sits at the moment.
Thank you, Matthew. Peter, you're on 77.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I think this is a bit of an opportunity missed. In photographing this sort of architecture, you can either go for making a wonderful art piece out of the components that are in front of your lens, or you can do what perhaps your client wants more of, and that is something that explains the building to the audience in a way that allows them to appreciate the work that the architect's done. Unfortunately, I think this image doesn't really do either of those very well, despite the fact that it is very well made. But it seems to me that there's lots of elements there that could have made could have been used to make a better explanation of what's going on with this building, or to make a better graphic design of using the elements that are in front of the lens. But
sorry.
Well done,
sorry, Peter. Anyway. Okay, thank you, Peter. Sorry. Let's go to Mark. You're also in the silver, Mark.
Yeah. I was a bit on the fence with this one because there's some technical things that kind of held me back a little bit, but overall, it's really challenging to come up with a circular composition that keeps you diving through the image, and you're drawn into that really lovely highlight, and then you go to the right hand side and you've got that lovely swoop that draws you around and then back into the detail below, and then you go back into the highlight again. So I'm really enjoying the composition. I think it contains the eye really well. I am happy. I only want 1 point to give it a silver, and I think that the entrant would be well deserving of that extra point, just be rewarded for that compositional strength that they've brought to the image capture.
Thank you, Mark. You hold your score at 82. Oh, sorry, I'll go back to Matthew. Sorry, Matthew. Right a reply.
Yeah, look, thank you, Tony. And yes, thank you, Mark. I do agree with exactly the points that you made. Your eye rolls around the whole image. There's lovely elements to see in the entire image through, and I'm very happy to have it in that silver range because there are some technical flaws in it, but I'm overlooking those things because the photographer has created a really lovely circular image out of this shot.
All right, Matthew, you hold your score at 82. Everybody else can consider what they've heard and rescore accordingly. We have a 79 still. So a couple of judges moved a point or so, but highly commended, very close to a silver. Well done. Hopefully those comments will help the photographer. I'm going to ask Mark to step back, and I'm going to invite Christopher Ian back onto the panel. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Christopher. Next image, please, Mel.
This image is titled Iris.
Image scores 85 and is a silver distinction. Your three judges up that way. So everybody was in the 80s. So every judge thought it was worthy of an award, whether it was silver or silver distinction. But three of the judges allocated it as a silver distinction. And Peter would like to make a comment. Thanks, Peter.
I just want to congratulate the photographer for achieving what is difficult to achieve with a subject that's often photographed in buildings where there is a spiral staircase. This is magical. There's a mystery to it that I still haven't worked out, but I just love looking and going around and around and zooming my way right down to the bottom there, or right up. I don't even know that. But you've come up with a beautifully graphic design using the elements that you've seen, and well done.
Thank you, Peter. And because that was so good, I'm going to ask you to step back and invite Scott Johnson back to the panel. And next image, thanks, Mel.
This image is titled Between Arrivals, Refreshment Rooms.
Johan, just checking you. Thank you. And we have an 83 silver award. Well done to the photographer. Got a feeling it might not stay there, and I didn't think so. Johan, you've given it a silver distinction. Tell us why.
I have. Below, excuse me. Originality, for intrigue, for fascination, for the beautiful graphic nature, the way that you're brought in by the sides, the central element, which is the door, the containment with that unusually placed corrugated iron in the background. It sort of adds a bit of materiality to the background that stops it from drifting off into nowhere. I gave it an 86. It's quite an exciting little image here. I'd be interested to hear why somebody didn't do it.
Well, they all gave it an award. So let's ask James, who was at the lower end of the 80s. There's a couple of you down there. James, what did you see?
Yeah, I'm right in the middle there of silver at 82, and I understand the observation of originality. It's a circuit breaker. It's something that's a little bit different, which immediately makes you lean forward and take interest into it. I like the paneling below and above the image, as pointed out, the corrugated, but particularly the paneling on the floor I felt was good, with interesting leading lines. And then when I go into the windows, I saw some digital artifacting that was just taking me out of the overall quality of the image in terms of pushing it into silver with distinction. Overall, my feedback would be consider your category choice. This is undoubtedly an architectural image, but there may be a world where this might hold better in a commercial category or in a digital artistry category, something a little bit different where we can really lean into the photographer's intent. But I commend the photographer on this award, and I'm listening to my fellow judges because I know more of you are in the category above than I am, to see if I can move, and maybe you can point some things out to me which will allow me to move into the next category.
Thank you, James. Now, Scott, you were even higher than Johan. You just didn't elect the challenge. So what did you see? Because you've given it a high score.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button, Tony. I'm not going to lie. Chris is going to shout at me in the debrief afterwards. I was at 87. I'm totally with Johan on this. As James is right. This is a circuit breaker. And it could do very well in an illustrative or commercial category. But I think the author has entered this into architecture precisely because it is so vastly different. I'm really enjoying the juxtaposition of the artifacting in those windows to the really fine wood paneling. I think it's wood paneling on the bottom, the green and the brown. And I think this has been a purpose choice. It's like pop art. And this is something I've never seen in this kind of category before. I'm at 87. I am going to be going up from my score because I wasn't the challenger. I'm allowed to go up. So yeah, thank you for challenging it, Johan. I'm fully on board with you, mate.
Okay. Yep. Okay, Johan, I'm going to go back to you.
Sure. The way I see it is, as much as an architectural illustration, something that an architect might show a client and say, we're going to have this on the ground here and this on the ground here, and we're going to have some of this corrugated iron on the back. What I love about the what you called artifacting in the background, it gave a photographic materiality to the form rather than it just being an illustration. So I felt that was worthy of being there. Otherwise, it would have been too, well, painterly or too illustrative. I gave it an 86. I'm stuck there, but I'm sure other people would like to change their scores, perhaps.
Okay, well, I think Scott indicated where he thought it should be, so I'll just throw that in there, not so much as a panel challenge, but just as a reminder. But everybody take on board what you've heard and rescore accordingly. Thank you. And we have an 84. Still a silver award, but that's still a great score, 84. Well done, judges, and some interesting comments there. And as you said, circuit breaker is probably a good description. It's a little bit out of the box, and it just stops the judges and makes them reconsider a few things. And yeah, interesting to see where they went. Let's have another judge change. Johan, you can step back for a moment. Thank you. And I'm going to invite back to the panel. Let's have a Robin Campbell. Thank you, Robin. And Mel will have the next image. Thanks.
This image has no title.
Image scores 80, silver award. All judges within 3 or 4 points of that score. And everybody looks pretty happy with that. But I'll take a comment from James over in Portsmouth. Thanks, James.
Yeah, I placed this just inside silver, so I congratulate the author on their award here. I felt it was an image with initial impact, which initially grabs your attention. Distinctive, simple use of contrast and color, almost monochromatic, just using that simple element of yellow, and made me think of Rubik's cubes, which I guess made me feel a little nostalgic. When we go into some of the yellow details, and yellow is a super hard color to control in photography, we can see that there isn't quite the quality to really push that impact of the color into the next level, particularly within the yellow tones. So if we're using the calibration tools that we have at our disposal in terms of checking color and creating color profiles for raw images, that may help control those colors a little bit more. And if we can do that and combine that with a really keen sense of cropping to enhance composition with the image, we can look to push it into the next level. But I congratulate the author on this award.
Thank you, James. I'm going to ask Christopher Ian to step back, and I'm going to invite Mark Z back to the panel. Next image. Thanks, Mel.
The title of this image is Triangulation.
Image scores 83, silver award. Well done to the creator. We have a challenge from Robin Campbell. Thanks, Robin, 88. Let's hear what you have to say.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, I am sitting in the silver with distinction range. So this image takes you to a whole different level. It's more than just what you're seeing in front of you. It's created this amazing story, this, I guess, this journey through time. You've got this beautiful little pillar that goes right through the center that takes you into the unknown. Sort of felt a bit like a sci-fi journey for me. That on top of the beautiful, beautiful treatment. It's similar to what you get in your sort of lith style toning. So it goes beyond monochrome and it goes into that beautiful blend of different tones, the warmth and the coolness coming through as well. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's a really lovely geometric harmony that sort of brings it all perfectly together and balances it, but at the same time it tells a story and takes us on a journey as well. And I think all of those elements combined bring in just this beautiful, I guess there's restraint, but at the same time, we've got every single element we need to make it quite interesting. When you zoom in, the quality also stays and holds up really beautifully as well. So you've got detail right in there to every single little piece of metal and every single little vent poking its way through. So I'm up there in silver with distinction, moving it beyond just an image into a little bit of storytelling art.
Thank you, Robin. Scott, 82. Please.
Yeah, 82. Yeah, thank you, Robin, for challenging. I think I've been a little harsh on the scores here. I think you're absolutely spot on. The tonality in the capture here is beautiful. It looks like a bug, or it looks like a spaceship. It's really, really quite cool. And the more I sit with it, the more I enjoy it. What initially stopped me going up further into, and I'm going to come up, what stopped me going higher was the author's done a fantastic job of having beautiful verticals and beautiful horizons. But as a bit of a running theme with what I've seen today, it's the small little bits that are just taking me out of this beautiful journey my eyes are going on. So you look in just sort of top left, there's a little circle that could have been taken out. There's a dirty black mark in the center of the image. So it's little things like that. I think if you're going to go to the effort of making it a beautiful, beautiful piece, go to that next level and take those little bits out. It's going to elevate this image into gold for me. But I am going to come up.
Thank you, Scott. Matthew, you had a couple of comments to add.
Yeah, I do agree with both the comments from Robin and Scott. The geometry in it is lovely. The tonality in it is lovely. The treatment of it is really handled very, very well. To elevate images like this to a next level, when you are looking at them, then we go looking for the little details and things. And as Scott pointed out, there are small little things. The left-hand side of the center of the image, there's a little bit of the built environment that could have been eliminated in there. Same on the bottom right, there's a little bit that could have been eliminated in there. All of these tiny little tactile things that take us into knowing that this is the built environment, but transforming it into something beyond just the built environment that we're looking at. And then the other wonderful thing that judges like to talk about, and we do a lot of hand cropping, the bottom of that image, that fuzzy light, as opposed to that sharp finish on that sharp bit of LED lighting underneath, give us a nice black line to finish the bottom of the image. It's just, you know, a really final way to finish that.
Thank you, Matthew. We'll go back to Robin, right of reply.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, judges. I have to say, I am perpetually complexed how, as photographers, we're here to document what we're seeing. We're not painters. We're not putting a stroke of ink or a stroke of oil paint across the page. We're documenting what is there and what is present. And for me, keeping those little bits of authenticity in there is what photography is all about, documenting its actual physical structure. But look, for me, it was the raking light that just so beautifully articulated the texture of the concrete, and it's preserved extraordinary tonal ranges all the way through. I'd like to celebrate this with a silver distinction. I encourage everyone to join me.
Thank you, Robin. You will hold your score at 88, and judges rescore, please. We now have an 84 silver award. Went up a point, everybody moved a couple of points, so that was great. Thank you, judges. And I'm going to ask Scott to step back, and I'm going to invite Johan back onto the panel, and we'll have the next image. Thanks, Mel.
The title of this image is Between Worlds.
We have an 83 silver award. And I'm guessing that Matthew would like to challenge that. Is that right, Matthew?
Yes, please.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Right, Matthew, you're challenging, and you can see the score range.
I can see the score range. Yeah.
Let's see why you saw it as a gold award.
Oh, because it's just simple and resolved so well with those lovely flowing curves that create spaces for our eyes to travel across left to right till we find our little figure and our little cookie in there who is staring straight at camera, or at least as the person's feeling like they are and have spotted the photographer there taking this image. The tonality through it, there's a deep black through to a lovely highlight, neither of which are too under or too over. It's just controlled beautifully. The symmetry in the whole image, it really flows gorgeously. I think the simplicity in it is worthy of rewarding the photographer for seeing and capturing and being patient to wait for their single figure that they wanted in that picture to show that scale.
Thank you, Matthew. Johan, you were pretty quick to ask for a comment at 78.
Yeah, I absolutely adore the little figure in there, and that figure is challenging me to look deeper and find more things in it. But if I look too closely, I start seeing bits and pieces that are out of focus, and they start breaking the illusion of it being a form and a shape. This deserves to be crystal sharp, and I gave it a 78. I could probably, quite easily be talked into an 80 of some form. But yeah, keep talking, and I'm very happy to listen.
Okay, I'm going to go to Mark Z, who's on 83. So he's in the middle there. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, and that's exactly where I landed with my score. For me, I love the expression, well, the masked expression, the little figure there is gorgeous and articulates the space so well and provides that scale and vastness of the area. The conflict that I'm having in my head is the conflict within the print. We've got some mottling that's happening on the top left-hand side in the reds, and we go down on the underside of things on that same, in that red tone where it goes to black, is almost been over smoothed or over gouge and blurred to address it's become too smooth. And so we've got, when we look into this image closely, there are bits and pieces that could really lift this up. And I think what it's scored is kind of right where it is sitting, because it's a cracker of an image, but it's just technically being held back a little.
Thank you, Mark. Matthew.
Thank you for the points, Mark and Johannes. Yes, I think there is a sharpness and a softness to this image at the same time. There are sharp elements to it on the tops of those curves. The curves are then dropping away into the softness. Remember, these environments are also created environments potentially as well. So the photographer, I feel like the intention of it, and we're talking about that today with other photographers, the intention of this is to create the sharpness and the softness in the image at the same time, and giving us that little bit of information in there of that person to give us the scale of what they have seen and what's been created here. And I'm rewarding the photographer for delivering this image of simplicity but complexity at the same time.
Thank you, Matthew. You're 92. Judges, if you'd like to consider everything you've heard and rescore, please. Well, it jumped from 83 silver to silver with distinction at 86. Good comments, and yeah, thank you, judges. That was great discussion. Robin, I'm going to ask you to step back, and I'm going to invite Christopher Ian back to the panel. Thanks, Christopher Ian, and we'll have the next image. Thank you, Mel.
This image has no title.
We have an 85, silver with distinction. Well done to the judges. And well done to the photographer, I should say. But thank you, judges. Everybody's in mid-80s. So let's get a comment, if we can, please, from James. Thank you, James.
Yeah. Yep. Congratulations on the silver with distinction. And what this image does is it demonstrates most of the criteria that we need to put an image in silver with distinction. Highly refined and distinctive. And that's not an easy thing to achieve with a subject matter like this. This sort of industrial landscape, or in this case, a portrait image, but it is an industrial landscape in an urban environment, is the sort of thing that a lot of people will walk past and not think of again. And what this photographer has done is allowed us to see this scene through their eyes. Great use of color combinations throughout this to draw our eye with geometric shapes. Lots of attention to detail on these different structures with the leading lines of the white lines coming from the bottom and leading us to that dark alleyway at the back. And just with that little bit of glass building just peeping up over the top, just giving us a little bit of narrative and a little bit of story from this clearly industrial site into something beyond and in the background. It shows originality and it shows elevated execution, and all of those things are the things we need to see to put it into silver with distinction. So I congratulate the author on the award.
Thank you, James. And I'll just add that certainly bringing this level of complexity into a simple image is not easy. And there's echoes of a Jeffrey Smart style of influence here, which is an Australian artist for our UK friends, if they don't know who that is. All right, let's ask Mark to step back. And I'm going to invite Peter Barnes back onto the panel. And thank you, Mark. Give a little break. And we'll have the next image. Thanks, Mel.
This image has no title.
We have an 83 silver award. And we've got a couple of judges in a little bit higher than that. So thank you, Matthew. You're challenging this at 86. Tell us why you think it's a silver distinction.
Look, it has initial impact is wow, like those two forms on the screen are just fantastic to look at, and the tonality of that sky behind and the handling of all of those tones and the contrast in the image, it just draws your eye straight into this picture. Those lovely highlights up each side, just dancing up that glass up the side of the building, lovely curve through the center of it. The form is just delightful to look at, and the photographer has seen and observed a lovely structure and created a really impactful image with it. I think it definitely deserves to go a little higher in the silver range, even creeping into that silver distinction.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. James, you're below award standard. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, highly commended, and I do commend the photographer for the way that they've seen the image. For me, the execution was the thing that was holding me back, and I'm listening, and I want some help to bring me into those silver levels. I felt that the sky in the background was a little too completely flat, a little too one tone, and for me that felt artificial and not particularly believable. And overall, I felt the choice of crop and composition in the frame wasn't leading my eye keenly round the frame, and I found it difficult to know where to rest my eye at. That slightly top heavy sky wasn't really working on a pure rule of thirds when we have like a really symmetrical image in terms of the placement of the building within the frame. Combined with the slightly high highlights, particularly on the right side of the building, just they were just adding up, those little things to hold me back from going into silver. I want to listen to people, and I want to see how I can be brought up into the next level.
Well, Johan was on 83. Johan, what have you got to add?
It's a very enjoyable image, and it's got this wonderful balance that makes you explore and look around and go, what the heck is that, and who occupies this? The sky, I would have gone higher, but the sky was the real killer for me. And there's something in my head that says that the white circle in the middle should have been the same color as the sky. And maybe I'm wrong on that, and it's not looking into the sky space. And I'm going to listen to what anybody else can say to convince me otherwise. But I did give an 83. I did like it a lot.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to you, Matthew. 86.
Yes, James, thank you, and Johan for your comments as well. I think to address the circle in the center, no, I don't feel like that actually resolves into the sky behind. I feel like that sits internal in the building. There might be a tiny, ever so little crest of a sliver in the very top of it that could resolve into the sky. To put that little bit in, I feel like that might be a distraction in that tiny little spot of it that wouldn't add anything to the sky. The sky, the blueness of it, I think that was a deliberate decision, and I feel like that's a deliberate decision because if we put any gradation or graduation in the sky or created something in the sky, then we're starting to look at a picture of the sky and not a picture of the building, and we are drawn to and led to look at the building. The twist in that curve in the center, the highlights, James, and particularly that highlight on the right, I feel like that's really helping us dance up the side of that building and get to that central curve and walkway or whatever it is that's in the center that's wrapping these two structures together. If that's any less bright, I don't think it would give the building that dimension and bring it out, lift it from that screen and bring it to our attention. That's why I've placed it where it is in that silver distinction.
Okay, Matthew, you hold your score at 86, and if the other judges would like to rescore according to how they feel about what they've heard. Image scores 83. There was a little bit of movement from judges, but not enough to shift the score. So great discussion and plenty there for the photographer to consider. Matthew, you can take a short break. And let's bring back Scott. Thank you, Scott. And we'll have the next image, please.
The title of this image is New Melbourne Metro 3.
This image is a silver award with an 80. Well done to the creator. Peter, are you happy with that? I can't hear you, Peter. Yep, you're challenging that. Good. 86. Off you go, Peter. You just have to take your mute button off. Thank you, so we can hear you. You're on mute, Peter. You've challenged it. Thank you, Peter.
Finally found the button. It disappeared under another little thing. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. The symmetry in this is almost spot on, and I would have gone up higher if the symmetry had been exactly on. But the photographer's done a wonderful job of capturing the huge tonal range that's in this, of making those colors pop against the grey background, of drawing us down into what is a very enticing space. And if I was the designer of this space, I would really like this photograph, and I would really thank the photographer for making it. So yes, a silver with distinction, please, folks.
Thank you, Peter. Johan, you felt differently.
I absolutely love the form of the building, and I'm completely enamored by the brightness and the colors and the lines that lead you down to where you want to be. But when I get there, they're not sharp enough. And I feel like I've been misled. And this image needs to be super sharp. It needs to have that energy that comes from sharpness. I gave it a highly commended. Yeah, but keep talking, Peter. Who knows?
Okay, Christopher Ian, you're in just on silver.
We as architectural photographers really have the last chance to get a photo that is of a building that's taken ages to construct. It's the last opportunity. Being a metro situation, you would imagine those signs have to be obvious, and they're just not. But I did give it silver because I actually just looked at the photo and loved it. Going in, I think the client would be slightly disappointed.
Okay. Let's go back to you. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, admittedly, there is a slight lack of sharpness when you go into it, but on the full screen, that's not a problem. On a full screen, you can see all that you need to see. The things that need to pop out really do pop out. The signs are immaterial. The architect won't care too much about the signs. The architect's interested in those elements that they have cleverly designed and want to communicate to the world. So I think the photographer's done a good job, and I think this is a silver with distinction. Thanks.
All right, Peter, you hold your score at 86, and judges, please rescore. This image is now a 79. And that happens when we have the majority of judges in a scoring range that's below where we averaged, with an average of 80, but with 3 of the judges below 80, it scores a 79 as a highly commended. That's an interesting situation because it doesn't happen very often, but the idea is that the judges get a chance to discuss the image and flush out all of the components that make a great image and decide whether this image has those things. And I think there were some wonderful comments and feedback that the photographer can take away and apply because like the judges, I saw this come around. I thought this had incredible impact, wonderful use of color, design, composition, all of those things. But when we're talking architecture, there are other elements that are pretty critical to what makes an award-winning image. So very close, but go back and let's keep working on it. Let's now look at, I'll give Johan, you can step back for this one, and I'll bring back Mark Z, and we'll have the next image. Thanks, Mel.
Okay, this image has no title.
Image scores 82, Silver Award. And James was the quickest off the mark with a challenge. So James, there's two of you at 87, but you got there first. So I'm going to take your challenge. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've placed it in silver and distinction purely, I think, because of the observational qualities of the photographer to see this environment, to see these shapes, and to place them with the use of positioning, with the use of focal length, and with the use of crop, all of these technical things, to create something that on the face of it looks very simple, but is actually a really, really pleasing study of different architectural designs combined together to create one complete image. One of the first things, actually I'll come on to that in a moment, but ultimately the control of light has been done really, really well here, even to the point where the small LED light in the bottom right hand corner just on that tower is still within tonal range. I just admire it so much, and I look around it and it's really, really pleasing on the eye because I can see loads of different shapes, loads of different qualities, and yeah, I'm really keen to see where my other judges are with it and see if we can move it up a little bit.
All right, let's go to, we've got a couple of judges there down the lower end. Peter, you're on 77.
Thanks, Tony. Yes, I agree with most of what James has said, except when he says that there are three separate architectural shapes go on to make a very pleasing image. That's where we differ. I don't think it is a pleasing image. I think there's a disparate number of elements that have been brought together technically very well, but to me, they don't form a design that helps me understand anything about what's going on, and certainly doesn't please the bits of my brain that need to be pleased by an image like this. So well done to the photographer, but right up there and highly commended for me.
I'll take a couple more comments. Chris, let's go to Scott. You're on 81.
Yeah, I was at 81. I'm thinking this is on impact and initial impact is beautiful. The tonal range, the fact we've got a resting place for our eyes around the image. You've got your highlight at the top of that very tall building. You've got the darker windows, and as James quite rightly pointed out, that LED on the lower right-hand side. For me, what stopped me going a little bit higher is those four square windows on the left-hand side. They're not quite square. They're a little bit jarred, a little bit kind of not quite, and it's just, if it was all off, it would be okay. But the fact they're slightly off, I'm struggling with that. But my cauliflowered ears are open, James. I'm listening.
Just before we go back to James, Christopher, Ian, you're on the same score as James, so I'll let you have a chance to add to the conversation.
Architects and designers, as I said originally, are the most discerning eyes we've got. Our job, more than a portrait photographer, is to flatter them and flatter their efforts. What better way than doing it than surrounding with crap? You've got Australian rubbish in the foreground, and their building is an icon in the background. It's just, even the sense of light on it is godly. It's gorgeous. And yet you've got this, real estate agents know to do this. They'll often frame a structure with rubbish to show you this is a quality building. This is a quality, you want to be invested in being on a strata on one of those floors. You want your business in there because this grabs people's attention. If you pull back and didn't have the foreground, it's a square building. Here it is, it's clawing its way above the banal, the mediocre. It's brilliant.
Thank you, Christopher. Ian, James, write a reply.
Yeah, I'm glad Christopher describes it as brilliant, and I'm glad that he can see a concept and a story in there, which gives us narrative that I couldn't see. So thank you for that. I think that elevates it for me further. I'm glad that Peter sees that it's been handled technically very well, and he can see that irrespective of whether it's to our tastes or not, we can at least appreciate the elevated technique. And I'm glad that Scott describes it as a beautiful image. As a man who takes beautiful architectural images himself, I'm glad that he can recognize that. When I first started to study landscape photographs, particularly the landscape photographs of Ansel Adams, the photography tutor I had at the time taught me that the brilliant thing about Ansel Adams' landscapes is that he ticks every element of the tonal range from pure black to pure white in every single one of his landscapes. He has that level of control that every grayscale, every box is ticked. And I can see that in this image. I can see the tonal range being utilized to create a good concept and a good overall narrative. We're currently sat in a really, really solid silver. Let's see if we can elevate it slightly to a really strong silver, and potentially maybe a silver with distinction. Thank you for listening.
James, you hold your score at 87. Judges, take on board what you've heard and let's hear what you think now. Well, let's see what you think now. And the image is now a silver with distinction at 85. Well done, judges. Great comments. And yeah, well done. And congratulations to the creator. Thank you, judges. We're going to take a short break and let our judges have a comfort stop and grab a glass of water. And we're going to hear a few messages from our wonderful sponsors. Thank you, Mel.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
I'm Mark Rizzetto from the Professional Photography Business Network.
A vibrant community from all around the world who's here to supercharge your business growth.
This is not an expensive one-size-fits-all course.
The PPBN is a network, an online educational platform with training and resources to suit everyone.
From those just starting out to the seasoned pros.
You can tailor your journey to suit your individual business needs and challenges, all at your own pace.
And there's new content added every week. But success is only part of the experience.
To us, community is super important, as we all know business can be lonely.
So join us today. PPBN is your unfair advantage. Let's do this.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the architecture category for the 2026 Australian Photographic Prize. Tony's just stepped away for a second, so I'll be taking over for just a little tiny bit. We're about halfway through the category, and the way Tony's been working, we're going to move some people around. So James, you can have a little break, and let's bring Robin back onto the panel, please. And Mel, if we could have our next image, please.
This image is titled Facade.
Image scores an 82, Silver Award. And we have a challenge from Christopher Ian on 91. Thanks, Christopher.
I have been waiting through the whole judging for this image. I thought it was the standout image. Architects and designers, I'll say it again, are very discerning. They know what makes great photos. They need photos which sell their concepts, all the work that they've done over the years. This would be intensely hard to build and design and follow through on. And yet the curving of the light is perfectly giving us the three-dimensionality. You actually almost think, is this a photo inside a photo? Is that perfect? I just would love to hear why people don't even think this is worthy of silver.
Let's hear from Scott Johnson. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, Christopher, I agree. There's a merry dance going on here with our eyes. We don't quite know where to settle. We're going up and down and left and right, and it makes you want to take a closer look. But sadly, when I do go in and take a closer look, there's a lot of artifacting in those darker areas, and the image is actually starting to break up just a little bit. So I'd encourage the author to keep on this journey. It's absolutely beautiful. I would just maybe go to a 16-bit rather than 8-bit TIFF when you're editing, and that will just help keep all that gradation well within tolerance here. But you know, I'm at 77, Christopher. You haven't got a lot of work to do with me, but that's what I found, sadly.
Robin at 81 around the score that it got.
Yeah, I thought I was being a little bit cheeky popping it into the silver range, but it's lovely to hear there's such great enthusiasm here for, I think I would call this created architecture. So I think what we're looking at here is it's a part of a building, which is very, very interesting. Love the shapes, love the wave patterns and formations and so forth. But my interpretation, I may not be correct with this, is that those little parts have then been put in inverse colors and then flipped and rotated over and over again to create somewhat of a artistic pattern as opposed to a found item. And it is very clever, hence why I was just tipping it into the silver range. However, when I get in there to the detail, it really does fall apart. So perhaps the amount of original found building didn't quite stretch far enough in terms of replicating it over and over again. But look, it's a piece of art. Happy to give it a silver.
Okay. Now, Peter, you've just put your hand up for a comment.
Yes, quick comment. I echo the statements about the artifacts that appear. I can see them without zooming in, and when you zoom in, they're there, staring you in the face. The other problem I have, it's a beautifully executed piece of work, whether it's been flipped or it's an actual photograph of something that's been designed by an architect. I'm not sure, but Robin's probably right. But I'm not sure about the color in that central panel. I like the monotone on the outside, and I think it would have worked better as a monotone all the way through. The slightly green and the slightly blue aren't really doing it for me. But congratulations to the photographer for making us look at this very intriguing image.
Okay, back to you, Christopher Ian.
I see many of those artifacts that people are seeing as frosted glass and the way the light plays on it. So I'm not as convinced. I think it's got depth, amazing depth. It wheezes and twists inside itself like a snakes and ladders game. I really think the architect would absolutely be stunned with this interpretation of his designs. I really thought it was sculpt.
Okay, Christopher, and you hold your score. Everybody else can rescore accordingly. Thank you. Image scores 83, went up a point. Congratulations to the creator and good comments. Thank you, judges. I'm going to ask Christopher Ian to step back for this one, and we're going to invite Matthew back to the panel. Thanks, Matthew. Next image, thanks, Mel.
This image has no title.
Image scores 79 and is a highly commended. All judges reasonably close. And is everybody happy with that score? I think it looks like they are. Let's just get perhaps a comment, if I can, from Mark Z, who was just below that 79.
Yeah, I really appreciate the kind of sci-fi surreal feel to this image. It's got that kind of 70s sci-fi vibe going really strongly. It's just when we get in, particularly around those edges, we're seeing lots of different color fringing coming through. Just to improve this image, just desaturating that, and also maybe just watch the sharpening. It looks like there's a few artifacts being introduced by the edge sharpening as well.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm going to ask Peter to step off the panel for a moment, and I'm going to invite Johan back onto the panel, and we'll have the next image, please.
The title of this image is Flying in the Dark.
This image scores 81. Everybody within 2 points of that score, a silver award. Well done to the creator. Let's get a comment, if we can, from Scott Johnson. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I was at 79. Congratulations on your silver award there. For me, this is such a beautiful use of tonality from the black and the white. It's almost like a wave, like in the ocean that you would see. It's beautifully sharp down at the bottom, and then when I follow the lines up to the bird, sadly, I don't see that same sharpness at the top of the image of the building, which is why I kept it just down out of silver range. But it's great. Revisit this. Take your time, put a tripod up, stop that camera down so you get critical sharpness all the way through that building. And then, my God, we could be talking 90 here. Well done.
Thank you, Scott. Mark, if you step back, and Christopher Ian come back to the panel. Next image, thank you, Mel.
The title of this image is Ode to Mondrian.
Just Johan.
I'm just doing a
sorry, Matt.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Cute.
There you go.
Image scores 79. Highly commended. And are we all happy with that? Yes, we are. And I'll take a comment from Johan. Thanks, Johan.
Right. It does what it says in the package. It's definitely an ode to Mondrian. It would have been, and it's quite captivating because there's so many bits to look at. But when you do look at them, they're just not quite sharp enough. Sharpness is a very important thing in architectural photography. But yeah, congratulations on such an interesting design.
I think that one of those examples of an idea that had the opportunity to go super high as a score, but it's the execution of the idea that's important here. And of course, we're looking for that higher levels of execution as much as we are of concept. But well done, highly commended, and a few things to work on. I'm going to ask Matthew to step back and invite Peter Barnes back to the panel. Thank you. Next print or next image. Thanks, Mel.
This image has no title.
And we have an interesting set of scores at 82. Silver award. Congratulations to the creator. And Peter has challenged that with a 92. And you can see the range of scores there, Peter.
I can see the range of scores. This is going to be interesting. I love it because everything has been so well handled. We talk about sharpness. This has got it. We talk about handling a whole range of different tones. This has got it. We talk about using the camera to create a wonderful design out of an architect's whimsy. It's got that. It shows off what the architect designed into this building, but it also creates its own graphic design. And all of these elements come together to make what I think is a wonderful image. So please have a good think about this, another look at it, go in, move around. I think it's brilliantly done and worthy of a gold award.
Thank you, Peter. Robin, you're on 78. I'm going to call you to say a few things. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tony. Peter, you're absolutely right. There's a beautiful sharpness and crispness all the way through. And there's no denying that the actual professional skill and practice here is highly competent, without a doubt. I think where I got a little bit stuck was I was kind of curious what the photographer actually brought to this in terms of their interpretation. So it's a beautiful piece of architecture, particularly the way that the sort of all the panels flow together like leaves and so forth. And the lighting design has also done a spectacular job of highlighting each and every element. I am definitely listening. I'm just curious, beyond very, very good competency skill and using a tiny f-stop. I'm curious, I guess, the extra elements that you see in it.
Thank you, Robin. Scott, you were in the middle at 82.
I was in 82, and I agree with Peter. I think this has been beautifully well done. The author here has done a very good job, like we say, of having critical focus all the way through. So they've used a tripod, they've stuck it down, done a very good job. The color tone is really, really nice. I think I've been harsh at 82. I'm listening to Pete. I'm going to come up. It sat on me. And the beautiful thing about having a challenge is when you let an image sit with you, it grows on you that little bit more. And this is what this has done. So I thank Peter for the challenge. And I'm going to be coming up.
Thanks, Scott. Back to you, Peter.
Yeah, I'd just like to quickly address Robin's point about what the photographer has brought to this. I think they've brought a really good understanding of what the designer of the building was trying to achieve. They've positioned the camera very carefully to create some symmetry in what is really an asymmetrical design, and that's a real challenge. And they've done that really well. So the image is pleasing in that sense, and that's one of the things that makes it attractive. And it's pulling that attractiveness out of what could be a really chaotic set of lines and lights. It's pulling that attractiveness into this image that I think the photographer has done really well. So please come up.
Thank you, Peter. You'll hold your score. Everybody else rescore. Thank you. And we have an 84. Silver award and just under distinction range, but good discussion and plenty there for the creator and also all the people listening and watching to take away and learn from. So thanks, guys. That was great. I'm going to now ask Scott to step back and invite James back onto the panel, and we'll have the next image. Thanks, Mel.
This image is titled Resorts, world's central atrium.
We have an 81 silver award. And Johan's challenging that with an 85. Thank you, Johan.
Oh, I am? Okay.
I saw you nod your head.
I was agreeing with 81. But that's okay. I'm happy to.
All right. Well, it's all right. I'll take the pressure off you. I'm going to call it as a challenge. Okay.
Okay.
So there you go. So you can speak first and tell us why. And you'll have to be strong because you won't get a comeback now, but you can change your score.
Great. Okay, so we all agree the colors are spectacular. I'm just telling you that. The large bright line down the left-hand side is a great arc that holds us in. The variety of color is well controlled. The focus with the person, I don't want to stay there. I want to explore more. And so really it's just a point to bounce off rather than go to. I gave it an 85. I think that it's got a lot of design merit. There's a lot of design in there that's worthy of respect, and the photographer's framed it well.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Robin. Thanks, Robin.
Awesome. Just finding that mute button. Oh my gosh. So, all right, maybe I've been a little harsh. I'm in the highly commended zone, and I think I got a little bit kicked in the gut when I've got this amazing image with all these vibrant poppy colors and lines and lights, and it's all coming together so beautifully. And then I just found the little person in there just so incongruent with the entire rest of this image. I guess when I got in there and sort of she just looks so darn bored. It was like, oh, come on, where's the wonderment? Where's the joy? Where's the excitement that this whole building brings? And I guess I felt a little bit let down by that. Given that, the actual elements in terms of photographing the architecture, fantastic. Perhaps working on a little bit of cueing with your talent there to, add some exciting elements would be very helpful to bring it to the next level for me.
Thank you, Robin. Christopher, you are in silver.
Yeah, Robin stole my thunder. I'm amazed how photographers enter portraiture and they don't have a word to the subject before they take the photo because they're so wound with their technique. Surely there'd be a radio mic up there telling her where and what to do, and to get some expression out of it, or wait for somebody else. If it's really a grab moment, you wait for somebody else. What I really appreciate in this photo, to talk positive, is you've disguised depth beautifully. I don't know how far back this goes and how far forward it goes. It's brilliantly executed. Front to back focus is perfect. It's got beautiful depth.
Thank you, Christopher. Ian, we'll go back to Johan. Thanks, Johan.
Oh, I get it right.
No, we won't. Sorry, I changed my mind. I'm sorry. I called the challenge and you all had a chance to speak. So everybody can reconsider their score, including you, Johan. My bad.
Thank you.
And we have an 83, solid silver. Well done. Great comments. And Robin, you can step back, and I'm going to invite back Mark Z. Thanks, Mark. And we'll have the next image. Thanks.
The title of this image is Shrine.
We have an 83 silver award. Very solid silver there, so well done to the creator of that. Everybody bar maybe one. And we have a challenge from Christopher Ian on 87. Thanks, Christopher.
This is an incredible use of the wide angle, the super wide angle, where a lot of our controls disappear, because as much as Photoshop and other programs can correct things, when you get down to 12 mil, 14 mil, 12 mil probably, there's very little you can correct. If you go in close, this is a case where you've got your subject on song. You look at that person's face, they're closing their eyes, they're taking in the majesty of this. For our foreign viewers, this place is hollow ground. You're not actually really meant to be taking photos there unless you have permission. Having tried to sneak in there many times when I was a student at RMIT and being told by guards to put it away. This is a remarkable textured photo. You go around the walls, you can feel all those reliefs that are there, and the lines that go up to the light which appears only once on usually Anzac Day, I believe, and it will hit the central cordon. But yeah, again, your subject is in song with what you're trying to do. They're feeling the motion, feeling the majesty of the place.
Okay, thanks, Christopher Ian. James felt something different. James?
Yeah, I had it at 77 in highly commended. I want to listen to my fellow judges. I just felt that the use of the wide angle lens distorted the image a little bit to too much of an extreme level to make it visually pleasing for me, particularly the distortion of the artworks underneath the main body of the converging squares there in the middle of the image. And then when I went to look at the person looking up, I found it difficult to maintain my believability in the image. I feel that there's a lot of artifacting, particularly around the face and the head and the hands, and it took me out of the image overall. There's not the refinement in control of highlights that I'd like to see, particularly around the very, very bright areas where we can see chromatic aberration. And it's for those technical aspects that I was unable to move beyond highly commended, but I'm certainly listening to everyone else to see if they can give me their interpretations, and so I can move my score.
Thank you, James. Peter, you on 87 as well?
Yes, I'm up there with Ian. I'd like to congratulate the photographer for being brave enough to throw away all the rules about verticals and horizontals and everything being super sharp, because they've done that. The face on the subject there is very heavily distorted, probably from moving while the shot was being taken. But again, from a distance, that's not really an issue. You can see the posture there is very appropriate to this space, and the rest of the image just shows that play between the real light that's coming, the strong light that's coming through the aperture at the top, and the darkness of the rest of this space, as a almost abstract portrayal of a very important space. I think the photographer's done a great job.
Thank you, Peter. Christopher?
For our foreign people, the black square in front of him is the unknown soldier in our pavilions, like your scimitar in Pall Mall. Basically, this is almost a religious space. It's based on, and you can see it in the photos, it's been perfectly captured. It's based on basically the pyramids, because the Australian troops practiced and trained under the pyramids before they went into battle. That's why I think this photo is gorgeous, because you can actually feel the pyramid. It's been created by the super wide angle. I just think this honestly needs to be in silver distinction. It's got impact.
Okay, thank you, Christopher Ian. You'll hold your score at 87, but everyone else can rescore. Thank you. And we have an 85 silver with distinction. You got your wish. There you go. Well done. Congratulations to the creator. And I'm going to ask Christopher Ian to step back. Thank you. Job well done. And I'm going to invite Matthew back to the panel, and we'll have the next image. Thank you, Mel.
The title of this image is Spiral Staircase.
And we have an 84 Silver Award, high silver, with, obviously everybody enjoyed that image. And I've got two challenges. I'm going to take James' challenge because he came in just ahead of you, Matthew, but I'm sure you'll add to what he has to say. So, James, tell us why you thought this was an 88.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at the scores, I realised that we don't actually have that much to go to push it into a different category, which is why I felt it was worth a challenge. I placed it in a high silver with distinction, purely because it is a really good example of simple things done well. This square crop looks from the outset like a really simple image, but actually it's been done with real care and real thought and real photographer input to carefully look at the composition throughout the whole piece, to place elements and shapes within that piece on thirds within the square that really easily leads our eye around the frame. And that's a really hard thing to do. I commend the author for this, and I'd love to hear from my judges to see if they can just nudge their scores up a little bit and get us into that silver with distinction.
Okay, let's hear from Mark Z, mid-silver.
Yeah, thank you. Compositionally and, choice of angle, choice of focal length, the crop, the treatment for me is where I'm kind of held back a little bit. We've got this beautifully three-dimensional space which screams three-dimensionality through the lines that run through, but we've lost any tonality through the treatments of the highlights and the shadows within the frame. And I think just kind of having a little bit more believability in that tonal range would have really helped to elevate it. But I do think it's a solid silver. I think it's scored beautifully where it is. I'm happy to listen to it a little bit more and whether I've kind of missed something in my interpretation. But for me, it's just that tension between what should be 3D has been flattened.
All right, well, there's a few people want to say something. I'm going to go to Matthew, though, who's on 88 as well.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I think there's a lot of intention in this image. There's definitely a choice that's been made, I feel, by the photographer in the somewhat to possibly very difficult lighting conditions that they're in. With the two left and right sides of this image, we have very bright sunlight or very overly lit side, and then a somewhat dark to fairly dark side. So at this time when they're there, they've seen this and thought, wow, look what I can do with this. I can give what we're usually looking for when we go back to black and white printing, a white, a real white and a real black, and then every tone in between. And then to add to what James has talked about, splitting it into the thirds. If we look at those railings, that bottom railing and curve takes us up to the next railing, which takes us across to the right of the image, takes us up that next curve, which leads us on that top curve into that image. It just flows so smoothly, and the intention of delivering us this really stark image is done very, very effectively.
Okay. Peter, you're at 82. I'm going to go back to you.
Yes.
Do you have anything to add?
I have a little bit to add, and I agree it's a solid silver for all the reasons that have been said. But what holds me there, what stops me from going any further, is the treatment of that wood. There are those panels of wood there have been handled fairly, well, not as well as the rest of the photograph. There's noise in there. There's a bit of a lack of sharpness. It's not as crisp and smoothed as you would hope it to be, given the elements in the rest of the photograph.
Thanks, Peter. James, back to you. Write a reply.
I really appreciate everyone's comments. Thank you very much, particularly Matthew's comments on flow and intention. This is key to this image, the flow of the image and how that's been done with intent by the photographer to work our eye around the picture. I do agree with Peter in terms of the wood paneling on the left-hand side. Now, I believe that the reason why the quality isn't there is because the light isn't there. The light's coming from, the way I see it, the top down. So the fact that we've got any texture and any form and any light on that and managed to control that in this hard light environment should be commended. Had the quality been there, I might be talking gold, but at the moment we're looking at just silver with distinction, highly refined, and a distinctive image. And it is a distinctive image, to Mark's point, in terms of the graphic tonality. It's it is easy to look at this and think, why are we not seeing more of a 3D nature? Why have we flattened it to a 2D nature? Maybe the best example the first one that sprung to mind is like a Monet painting of water lilies. We don't just see crisp water lilies on a spring afternoon on the river. We see his interpretation of water lilies as his eyesight descends and smears and color tonality and seeing it through the artist's eyes. And I believe that that is what this photographer has done, to Matthew's point, with intent, to give us their interpretation of this scene in a graphic, simplified way that's actually been done with a great level of complexity. I'm currently at 88. I'd love to see it just get that one extra point from 84 to bring it in silver with this distinction. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's rescores.
Thank you, James. You hold your score. Judges rescore, please. And everybody jumped into at least silver distinction. So congratulations. Great discussion, everybody. 87. Well done. We'll have another judge change. I will ask for Johan to step back, and we will bring back Robin. Thank you, Robin. And we'll have the next image. Thank you, Mel.
This image is titled The Caretaker.
Image scores 84, high silver. Everybody's in that mid to low silver, but we have a challenge from Mark on, well, actually, I'm going to take Peter's at 87. Thanks, Peter. 87. Thanks, Peter. If you'd like to tell everybody why he thinks it's silver distinction.
Tony, I think this is a strong silver distinction because the photographer has beautifully handled the different sources of light, beautifully handled the image in there, and gone to the effort to give the caretaker the same color clothes as the light coming down from the top and on those columns. I was arguing with myself that why didn't they make it symmetrical? And I thought, well, bloody hell, it doesn't need to be symmetrical. It's a symmetrical design. You could have put the camera so that you had a perfect symmetry all the way across. But I think the photographer's done us a favor by putting it slightly out of whack so we can see more detail of those columns, so we can see those lovely shapes that have appeared across the top. And for all those reasons, I think it's a solid silver with distinction.
Thanks, Peter. I think all the judges are in agreement that it's an award. But let's hear from James, who's at 80.
Yeah, I placed it in silver, a strong creative image with clear strengths and concept, which it has. I felt that some of the processing may have been slightly more keenly handled, the highlights at the top of the middle column just coming down. And when we go into some of the footlights there, when we look into the detail of there's been some amendment to the cyans in the highlights in those lights, and I believe in the image as a whole, which has given us that sort of turquoisey feel to the whole thing. And I just don't think it sits well within those footlights. The main point of interest in terms of the cleaner, slightly out of focus, a little bit softer, not done with that real slow shutter speed intent to really show motion. It just feels just like it's a little stop. And I think maybe with the narrative, this could have been placed either in the second column or the fourth column to really give us a nice dimension in terms of the overall composition. I recently watched a movie about a woman who cleans an octopus's tank in an aquarium. So I'm quite emotionally attached to these sort of after hours images, and I can be talked up, so I'm listening.
Robin, you were in the middle at 83.
Yeah, look, I'll keep it brief, but essentially the authenticity, I think, is what really drove me drew me into this image. That and the Wes Anderson-esque feel of all of the lines adding up at the same time, bringing humanity right into the heart of it. I'm moving up the silver distinction range, so I think job done. Good job, guys.
Okay, thank you. Mark, anything brief to add?
Yeah, look, just to speak to James's point, I think the positioning of him is so central. It's perfect for the topic, the narrative. That we do have just that little foot motion through, and enough of that face to blur around. Like, is anybody following me? Like, it's just enough. I think any more blur, we would have lost a bit of the narrative. So I think in terms of choice of shutter speed, it's been handled beautifully. The tonal separation, we've got this really deep black, and then we've got the highlights, and then the foreground shadows are just, they're perfect across the board. And so we've got this real kind of three-step depth running through the frame, which has been handled beautifully. The offset choice, Peter covered that pretty well, but I do think like just that little bit of offset nature with him passing visibly through the pillars, there's a lot of cleverness. The crops considered, I really do think this is a silver with distinction, guys. So just one more point.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Peter?
Thank you, Mark. Please bring it up.
All right. Okay, you hold your score, Peter. Everyone can rescore. Thank you. We have an 86 silver distinction. Well done, judges. And I'll get you to step back for the next one, Peter. And I'll invite Scott Johnson back to the panel. We have the next image. Thank you, Mel. Oops. Yep, Peter, step back. Okay.
This image has no title.
And we have an 82 silver award. And I might, everyone happy with that? I'm going to ask for a comment, if I can, from Scott, who was just below silver. What else would you have liked to have seen, Scott?
I was at 79, which is so close for me. I think I'm happy with 82, the score. I think if the author is watching the stream now or catching up later on, you've done a beautiful job of capturing sharpness in this building. There's not one single highlight blown out, and there's not one single shadow that's dropped out. Just be very, very, very careful. If you are considering a sky replacement, you have got a little bit of black haloing on the top left-hand corner. So just be very, very mindful if you are going to be kind of doing that and going into what can I change to elevate and keep my focus on the building. Just go in at 100%, 200%, and that's very, very easy. Just take that black haloing out. But I think from an architectural point of view, it's beautiful. So well done.
Thank you very much, Scott. James, you're going to step back, if you will. Thank you. And I'll invite Christopher Ian back to the panel, and we'll have the next image. Thanks.
This image is titled Bright Coastal Waves, Gold Coast.
This image scores 79, highly commended. All judges bar one sitting just below silver. If everyone's happy with that, I'd look for a comment, if I can, from somebody. Mark, thank you, Mark. What would you like to offer to the creator that might help them lift this a little?
Yeah, just looking at your depth of field and sharpening, just a little bit of a higher f-stop, just to make sure that everything is retained and rendered really crisply throughout the frame. And then just a little bit of detail distraction. We don't really want to see the changes in the curtains on the right going through, just kind of evening out those tones running through to really simplify this image might just boost it up a little.
Thank you, Mark. You can take a step back. Johan, if you'd like to rejoin the panel. Next image, thanks, Mel.
This image is titled Board Expressions.
We have an 84 Silver Award. Challenge from Matthew at 88. Thank you, Matthew. You can see the scores. Everyone's in award range and you've got somebody supporting you.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, look, I think we're right on the cusp of bringing this into a silver with distinction. It's whimsical, it's fun. The photographer has spent time observing what everyone else walks past. Wood and knots and placements of screws and things in there to create a story for us, to create a narrative, to create something humorous and fun to look at and for us to talk about. There's so many faces in there who are talking to us and talking at us, making comments with us. They've really delivered us some beautiful images of something that we walk past every day, and then place them in a really lovely flow from top to bottom, and been very careful about where they're placing them and what tones are going with what tones and what is leading from one into the next. I think we can reward this photographer into that next category.
Thank you, Matthew. Scott, you're on 83.
I was on 83. When this came up in the slideshow, I was like, I don't get it. But this is where a perfectly worded title works. And I know that titles are new for APP this year, and it is perfection. I've always really struggled to title my images. I get James to help me do it sometimes. But this, oh my God, we had the privilege of going in at 100%. It's brilliant. It's really good. I can't describe it. It's just a really fun image. And I think sometimes there needs to be a little bit of humor within our images. This has got it in droves. I'm at 83. I'm coming up.
Okay, Johan, you're on 88.
Yep. Yeah, good. I gave it 88 because it warmed me. I saw this and I thought, yes, somebody sees weird shit or stuff around and gives it to us to enjoy. What I particularly enjoy about this image is the composition of or the layout of each piece, particularly with the top left hand, let's call it face, pointing up and out, and then the bottom, and it's at the higher part of the frame. And then the bottom right-hand one is kind of rested on the ground. So it's actually beautifully framed together. Yeah, it's priceless. I gave it an 88. It's just, it warms my heart.
Okay, back to you, Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you, Johan. Yep. And Scott, yes, absolutely. When it came up in the run through, it was great. I was smiling and laughing, and exactly like Johan said, it's an image that warms all of our hearts in the category that it's in. And I think it definitely needs to be rewarded for the photographer's patience and effort to deliver this to us.
Okay, you hold your score, Matthew, and everyone else can rescore. Thank you. Image scores 87, silver distinction. Well done, everybody. Nice comments. And Robin, you're going to step back, and I'll have James back to the panel. Thanks. And we'll have the next image. Thank you, Mel.
This image is titled Fiery Staircase.
We and we have an 81 silver award. All judges are fairly consistent in that mid low 80s, one in the highly commended. I'm going to ask for a comment, if I can, from Matthew to tell us a little bit about what could be done to take this even higher. Thank you, Matthew.
Oh, look, the composition and the capture of the image is fantastic to look at. It's immediately striking when it's revealed, and you traveling through those triangles, in a sci-fi sort of way. I feel like I'm in a spaceship being shot through these and out into red space beyond. I think probably to elevate it further is there's information on the right-hand side of that image that doesn't add anything to the picture. You can bring that in, tighten us up into those triangles and keep us in that space.
Thank you, Matthew. You can take a step back, and Peter Barnes, if you'd like to rejoin the panel with the next image. Thank you, Mel.
The title of this image is The Place.
We have a highly commended at 79. And Scott Johnson on 84 has challenged that score. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Yeah, I was at 84. Again, when this image came through in the slideshow, I was like, oh, I really hope I'm on for that one, because this jumped out at me for something being really, really different. The presence of mind to create this composition and control the highlights in what is a very, very bright day has been very well handled. There's not one blown out highlight and what is a very, very bright day. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to listen to what my judges have to say and come back with a right of reply.
Thanks, Scott. Peter Barnes, 77.
Yes, thanks, Tony. I agree. It's been very well done. But for me, we've ended up, the photographer has been very brave, should be commended for the bravery in presenting this with so much negative space and a graphic design left behind popping out of that negative space. But the design really doesn't do anything for me. I don't think, apart from the fact that it's immediately interesting when you look into it, the design is not really telling you about the building, and it's not a very compelling graphic design as well. Brilliantly done, and I'd encourage the photographer to keep exploring this approach, but have a think about the shape and the impact of what it is you're left with when you've done this treatment to an architectural image.
Thank you, Peter. Johan, you're on 82, so you saw it as a silver.
Yeah. It's when you look at this building, you get a sense of presence, of weight. You get a sense that it's quite a weighty building, but the photographer has presented as floating in the air. So it's this monolithic structure, and it has somehow a grace. And the grace comes out of the sweeping down line that comes down to almost a point at the bottom. And the monolithic aspect of it is this linear structure that is solid and simple. So I think the photographer has done a really good job of containing this image as a singular object. What sort of struck me is that when you look at it, it iridesces. The light seems to bleed into the black, but it doesn't. So again, the photographer has done something particularly clever. I gave it an 82. We're just trying to squeak it up into a shiny silver if we can.
Okay, back to you, Scott.
Yeah, Johan has got a vocabulary I can only dream of. So I want to learn a lot of words from Johan today. So thank you for that. I agree. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Johan, for your comments. It is strikingly beautiful, but there is a calmness and a softness to it. Peter, you mentioned that it's been well done, brilliantly done. I think the words that you were, and I think it has been brilliantly done. Most architectural photographers would run a bloody mile from light like this, but this photographer has run towards it and taken the challenge on and thought, I'm going to make something beautiful and striking out of something that most people wouldn't do. This is, we've said it in other images today, most people walk past stuff. This is the photographer who thought, you know what, I think there's an image here, and I think I'm going to do it this way because I think this is the way it should be done. It's been very well handled, black and white. Yes, I could probably take the crop in a little bit on the left-hand side, but I think the light dances across this building. 95% of photographers would walk past this and not even give it a second look. I want to reward the author for taking the chance and making something that is very difficult to do make look beautiful. I'm at 84. We're at 79. One itty bitty point, I think, would bring this up and would reward the bravery of the author here.
Thank you, Scott. You hold your score at 84. Judges rescore, please. And we have a silver award at 81. Thank you, Scott. Okay, I'm going to invite Christopher, Ian, and Johan to step back and invite Mark Zed and Robin Campbell back to the panel. And we'll have the next image, thanks.
The title of this image is Boxed In.
Thank you, Mark. I don't think your scores come through. Oh, there we go. We have an 84 silver award. And they move to their buttons, and we have a challenge from Peter Barnes. Too slow, Mark. Not to worry. You get a chance to say something. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Tony. MC Escher, eat your heart out. I love the way this travels around, and not as logical way as MC Escher does, but in an almost similar way of confusing you and enticing you and delighting you. The tones are beautifully handled. Everything is smooth. Everything is sharp. There's some lovely little details like the highlights on the edges of those steps coming down near the middle. I like the fact that the details of the texture's been taken out of the structure. We've seen a bit of that today, but this has been done in a way which I think is very lovely. And I think it's definitely worth a silver with distinction. I encourage you to have a close look and come up.
Thank you, Peter. Robin, 83, you weren't as convinced, still award level.
Oh, yeah, I was in the solid silver range. I'm also loving the Escher-esque quality of this image. I think what stopped me from going to that next level was that sort of lack of resting point. Your eye sort of goes here, there, and everywhere, and it has nowhere to stop. And when you look at really, really refined artworks, that they follow that sort of Fibonacci spiral rule of allowing your eye to move through the image and then resting somewhere. And usually where your eye rests is the heart or the point of the image. And I think for me to go to those next levels, if, I'd be in gold if I could rest my eye somewhere. If I could possibly understand what it is the photographer's trying to show us here, a final destination, I would undoubtedly be in gold. But Peter, I am listening. This is a beautiful piece of work, and I'm very much enjoying it as well.
Mark, you are also on 87.
Yeah, I really appreciate what Robin's saying, because I had the same struggles, but those struggles led me into the image and led me to go searching with the image, and then it became apparent of just how beautifully every single step tone in that high key range was handled. There's beautiful separation throughout everywhere my eye wanted to go. I was just led around, and I found myself searching, but not through composition. But it was kind of this awkward uneasy of, where do I go here? What do I want to look at? And then when I started looking, I started really having an appreciation of the technical qualities, the handling, and then I could step back and I could appreciate the composition became stronger the more I had time to sit with it, because we've got this kind of boldness on the right hand side on the third. We've got the 2/3 off to the left. We've got the beautiful highlight sitting on the third as well on the left hand side. So it all started to fall together after a while, but it needed me to go on that journey with it before I kind of went, oh yeah, that's there's something a bit special here. I want to see it come up to a silver distinction, because I think the photographer should be rewarded.
Okay, back to you, Peter. Thank you, Mark.
Again, thank you, Mark, for those very considered discussion, and I don't think I've got anything to add to that.
Okay, you hold your score. Thank you, Peter. Everybody else rescore. And we have an 86 silver distinction. Well done to all the judges for that. And yeah, congratulations to the creator. Well, guys, that was the last of the images in this category. So amazing work. And there were some incredible ideas and concepts. So congratulations to all the entrants. It was fantastic to see your entries, and we really appreciate the opportunity to have a look at them and to share them with the rest of the world. A huge thank you to tonight's judges. It was really good to hear you bring your diverse experiences and ideas, and more importantly, your passion for doing this. It was obvious that you enjoy judging, enjoy looking at images, and I also want to thank you for your empathy for the entrant and the way that you were looking to help all of those entrants improve their work even further than they have gone so far. Again, thank you, Christopher Ian, James Musselwhite, Johan Van Kahn, Mark Zed, Matthew Vasilescu, Peter Barnes, Scott Johnson, and the inimitable Robin Campbell. What a wonderful privilege to be able to chair you guys. I know all of you as friends, and it's a privilege to be able to sit here and watch you do your thing. Thank you to our online audience for tuning in and joining us to celebrate excellence in photography. Join us for the live judging of our next category, which will be coming up, and I think Chris or Daniel will tell us what that is. And don't forget to tune in on Thursday, the 13th of August, for the announcement of the winners. And before I sign off with a final thank you, I also want to thank personally Daniel, Nathan, Mel, and Chris, the awesome foursome behind what we see happen here. For you, the people watching at home, it must be an incredible experience, and I've watched a little bit of it through the last few weeks. I can tell you as a judge, it's an incredible interface to work with and way to be able to provide some experience and to give comment. But even as a chair, the facility that we have here and the opportunity to interact with the judges, interact with the scores, help facilitate this is second to none. So thank you to that incredible team. And with that, I'll sign off. Thank you for having me, Tony Hewitt. I'm going to hand back over to Chris, Daniel, and Mel, whoever's going to take over next.
I think that's it, Tony. We're all done. You can join us for Newborn tomorrow night, though, if you like.
It's Newborn, is it? I didn't know what it was.
7 p.m. AST. But yeah, normally it's your job to sign off, Tony. So why don't you do a big finish?
All right. That was the voice from the heavens. I will. Thank you, everybody. Thanks again to all our judges, all the entrants. Still a few categories to go and the big awards night. So make sure you join us tomorrow night and then the nights after that. And we'll see you all soon. And good luck with your entries in this one. And of course, don't forget there's also 2027. We'll see you soon. Bye now.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
I'm Mark Rizzetto from the Professional Photography Business Network.
A vibrant community from all around the world who's here to supercharge your business growth.
This is not an expensive one-size-fits-all course.
The PPBN is a network,
An online educational platform with training and resources to suit everyone.
from those just starting out to the seasoned pros.
You can tailor your journey to suit your individual business needs and challenges, all at your own pace.
And there's new content added every week. But success is only part of the experience.
To us, community is super important, as we all know business can be lonely.
So join us today. PPBN is your unfair advantage. Let's do this.